Hey, what up? What? I'm so rusty, I can't even say my own name. Hey guys, it's your boy Nick. I totally missed you guys so dearly. I haven't made a video in quite a while, and I just want to jump back into it, honestly. So yeah, this is a video I have been dying to make for quite some time now, and I wanted to wait until I had exactly the right words to say, or at least like a compilation of what I think I should say. So this is all about pricing art. And this is something that is super subjective, and I think I've summed it down into a way that it makes sense for most artists. So more often than not, you're gonna hear people saying, man, that's way too expensive, or this is not worth the price, and a lot of terrible comments, honestly. I see them more often than not. But occasionally, I will see some people saying, oh my god, like, you need to charge more, like, why are you not charging this? You know, like, you're worth so much more. Both of those comments actually have a very similar discrepancy. So people will perceive the value of something based off their own knowledge of it. They'll think they know how it's made. They'll think they know the process, how easy it is. They'll take into consideration the artist's previous work. They'll say, hey, your previous art used to be so much better. Why are you charging this for a sketch? You know, based off of that, they will not accept it at face value. They won't say like, hey, like, you're in charge of your prices, like, that's fair. They'll say what they think it's worth. So artists in general have three main criteria for how they price their artwork: materials, time, and skill. And I guess if you made a math equation for all the nerds out there, it basically is price equals materials plus time times skill. That's the little thing I thought of. If it's been made before, then I guess I hit the nail on the head with that one. So first off is materials. This is the baseline for physical artwork. So when you're at the very beginning of a business, and I mean like day one, this is the first price point you want to reach. This means that for any physical product you are selling, at the bare minimum cost, you have to cover the amount of materials you're using, as well as the shipping. So when an artist sells for only the material cost without factoring in skill or time, it usually means that they're beginning artists who haven't really honed their skills yet, or make a marketable product. A good example might be like a fursuit, like a first fursuit, like with tons of holes and stuff. It's made with like craft fur. It's just not a very good product, but they still want to sell it, so they'll pretty much just sell it for the cost of the materials they used. Similarly, if you are a writer, a lot of artists actually charge per word, which is similar to actually charging for materials. So when I was taking writing commissions, I charged 1 cent per word. It might not sound like a lot, but I was making around $500 for a 50K story, which I was pretty comfortable with at the time. Yes, you can charge for time and skill on top of this, but we're not talking about that yet. But this is the ground floor for pricing any physical artwork and breaking even. So next is time. Makers will charge for their time put into a product. This is the baseline for digital artwork, and also something you add on top of material cost for physical artwork. Now there's a million ways you can do this one. It's the second most subjective point of the three. So the most common eventual goal most people try to reach as an artist is they try to make it a full-time job, which means that they're charging minimum wage or more. So remember, this is a goal, not necessarily somewhere to start with. But charging minimum wage for something means that after the material cost you are charging, you're charging hourly for your time. So for instance, if I were to charge for my suits, I would charge a baseline for materials of $220, and then whatever minimum wage is in my state, which would be $12 an hour. And I would just times that by the amount of hours it took for me to make a partial, a head, or whatever. And there's also other ways people do this. The most controversial way I've seen is some people will actually time themselves while making a piece of art. So they're saying, you can buy 1 hour of my time making art. Like, bear with me, this is what they'll do. They will literally put a timer on and start drawing, and when that hour is up, they stop. And, you know, some people might be like, oh, that sounds, you know, reasonable. Like, imagine, like, paying a tattoo artist hourly and he goes and takes a bathroom break. Like, that's kind of how I see it. But I mean, it's to each their own, it's whatever. Beyond this is actually the most common way people will price any of their art, is they will actually think, okay, it takes me roughly this long to do a headshot, so I will charge this much. It takes me this long to do a full body, so I'll charge this much. And they kind of just gauge it and then price from there. But finally, this is the kicker. Number 3, skill. I want you to remember this phrase. Skill increases the quality of your time. Skill is where it all goes wrong for people. And I mean, this is where people start putting up pitchforks because it's so easy to justify time and materials for an item. Because typically when you work for a job, you are paid in your time. You know, you're paid minimum wage, you work this many hours, and you're paid accordingly. However, skill is not something that you're paid for in a regular job. Like if I work at Taco Bell, they're not going to be like, man, you are the best person to do all these things. Like here's, like generally they'll give you a raise, but like, you know, 10 cents, whatever. But generally we're all paid the same because they assume we all have the same skill set because we're all doing the same job. So a lot of people, when they actually see artwork, they kind of have the same feeling in a way, which is not true and not okay. Skill is something that has no definitive price tag, and it's generally something that's gained over time with practice, and it's just something you gain, and it's not necessarily something you can like qualify. So one way to think of it is this: 2 makers make a head base in 5 hours. One has been doing this for 5 years, and one has been doing this for 3 months. One makes a head base that is not necessarily the greatest product. It's very bulky, it is not symmetrical, and it's really their first time doing it. And the other maker makes a very smooth, detailed, really good head base. Technically, because they both made it in the same time, they could charge the same amount because they use the same amount of materials in the same time. But ultimately, the maker who's been doing it for much longer deserves more money. Like they really do, because they've taken so long to hone and create their skill set. But a lot of people will look at it and say that they're equal, when in reality, it's like, not necessarily, no. Skill is something that functions with time, and it can raise or even lower its value. Because if you take an incredibly long time working on something, but your skill set is very low or even bad, you know, like putting metal in your fursuits, the quality of your time actually decreases. However, this part of pricing is 100% completely subjective. This means that you personally have to decide what your skill level is at, and if you believe it's increased or where to go from there. Skill is something also other people can perceive of you. You know, it might take years to hone your craft and get it where you want it, and people still might shit on you. Or the opposite, you could dump something out in an hour that people think is a masterpiece, and because of the subjectivity of this criteria, no one's right or wrong. You have to think about the art medium, you have to think about the style, the aesthetic. It's just a really hard thing to think about, I think. But at the end of the day, materials, time, and skill are 3 points that you have to judge how much all of them together is worth. And I don't want to say this, but I will. This is my opinion. This is a completely subjective opinion on a completely subjective topic. You can have a completely different opinion and still be correct. My final thought is this though. If an artist wants to say that their sketch is worth $2,000, who cares? Literally, who cares? Because there is zero harm in letting that happen. Literally zero harm. If someone buys it, freaking good for them, dude. Like $2,000, that is amazing, because that honestly, showing people willing to buy these things makes it more normal for people to be like, okay, yeah, spending money on art is justified. And if no one buys it, who cares? And also, one thing is this: if it doesn't sell, you know, if their $2,000 sketch doesn't sell, they're not obligated to lower their prices for you. If they want to just take it off the market altogether, that's their problem, that's their choice. I think this fandom really emphasizes like it's your choice to do things, but when it comes to something that's like monetary, everyone wants to be restrictive. It's not fair. Because the thing is, this fandom is market driven. We have people selling fursuits for $300, and we have people selling digital art for $300 an hour. And yes, there are people who undersell, and it's fine to reassure them that their art is worth more. But in the long run, it's their choice. My thing is, I think we should be more supportive. I generally think we should be more supportive of artists' prices, whether they're too high, too low, just right, or whatever. If you don't want to buy it, don't buy it. If we have literally thousands of artists in this fandom, and you can't find one within your price range or one that you like or any of that, then I don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. But ultimately, I really missed you guys. I really want to thank my freaking patrons through this time. I'm honest, I'm gonna be real right now. I haven't been able to make videos recently, and that's just, it's a combination of a lot of things that don't really matter at the end of the day, but I just haven't been able to make videos. Most of it has to do with me being in school. These people stuck by me, and even though I wasn't making content, they were still helping me in that way during a pandemic, and that's something that, honestly, these people are amazing, and that's ridiculous to me. And I'm really thankful, and honestly, I'm also thankful for you just watching. I really do like making videos, and I really do want to get back into it. I think I'm feeling a lot better, and I think that I have a lot more time, so I'm really going to try and bust out a few videos at least until the next semester starts, but I'm just really happy that you like my content. As always, this has been Nick, and remember, keep it simple.